You are still listening to Econo Chat Let's Talk Business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. We are talking about the budget. We are talking a lot of things surrounding the budget. How the president has given us some shockwaves in regards to how she merged the ministries as well, but also how this will impact the country's economy on a long term. But for now, let's just go back and focus on GDP, Mr. Daniel Steinman.
On what we know.
On what we know, yeah.
Or don't know.
But you do know.
Elsie, I had to basically reconstruct the GDP because the official version has not been released yet. And what I did is I went to the 2023 budget and the 2024 budget, and I made a comparison there. And it went from about 240 billion to 265 billion. But in the official projections until February last year, so it's until February 2024, the 2025-26 fiscal year penciled in a GDP of 303 billion Namibia dollars. Now I can guarantee you that we didn't get there. I think we maybe got to about 287. If we're lucky, 288 billion. I don't think we will get to 290 billion. Now, if you look at the broad scope of the expenditure side over the last 2 fiscal years, you will notice, and I've discussed that in our talks, that from 22 to 23, the budget was basically inflated by 12% on a nominal basis. So what does this mean? This means the figures that you see on paper. So the actual projected figures, the published figures. If you strip inflation out of that, you get so-called real growth. So if you inflate the whole thing, you increase everything just by a rough 12%, and you remember we had 6-7% inflation. We had bad inflation. So if you strip it out, you get to a real growth rate for 2023 of about 5%, give or take. It was slightly more. Now, if you do that same exercise for 2024, where the rough margin was again 12%, but the inflation come down from where it was at above 6% to where it is now just below 4%, and you continue to inflate everything, all expenses and revenue, all estimates by 12%, and you take away 4%, it leaves you with 8%. So in theory, last year should have been a 8% real growth rate. It wasn't. It was just below 4%, or the estimates at this stage. Remember, we won't have the national accounts until about July, August.
Yes.
So the theoretical projection now is that the growth rate was just below 4%. So can you see that there's a 4% difference there? That doesn't make sense until you look at the minister's budget statement, and you see that instead of a universal 12% nominal increase like the previous 2 fiscal years, it is now only 5%. Big difference.
It is.
Do you see? So now immediately it shows you that given the uncertainties at this stage, the minister has not access to all the figures yet. But looking at what happened last year, it's very obvious that we didn't get close to the projected growth figure. And I would not be astonished when actual growth eventually comes out at about 3.6% of GDP. Now remember, that is a GDP comparison. I've explained to you in the past that there are some comparisons percentage of GDP, others are a percentage of revenue, and others are a percentage of expenditure. You know, so it's different comparisons, and one need to keep your pigs in a row, your ducks in a row.
Ducks in a row.
You have to keep your varkies op hok, you know, to know what you're talking about, which figures you are comparing to which.
Yeah.
And don't get this mixed up, because then whatever comes out is not dependable. But as you can see from the empirical facts that are available at this moment, the projected growth in GDP and in revenue and in expenditure has been down-tuned substantially.
Yeah.
And that sort of confirms that thing that I said. If I make the basic calculations, but rough calculations, there's a 4% growth somewhere in there that didn't happen, you know. And the new budget makes provision for that. Yeah. So it accommodates the uncertainty, but it also accommodates the fact that this year GDP growth will probably come to about 292, 293, maybe $294 billion.
Okay.
Expenditure, she said in a statement, 101 billion. That's also a slowdown. And revenue, 88 billion, which is at this stage a fairly uncertain estimate.
Well, on that note, Mr. Steinman, we unfortunately have to say goodbye to you, but also have to say goodbye to our listeners. But before that, there was also a question on, or in regards to what has been happening. Like you always say, that what happens in America affects the rest of the world. So in regards to the 20% tariff increase that the U.S. has imposed on Namibia, people would like, or our listeners would like you to explain to them how this affects Namibia. So maybe we can talk about that next week.
It's very easy. It's grapes and diamonds.
Okay, well,
nothing else.
The magician said it's easy. We will probably then talk about it next week. But for now, we have to say goodbye. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll meet again next week.